All right, we're going to continue from question 10. We're going to continue from question 10. Now, with question 10, hopefully you remember when we did the distance, speed, time relationship, and we had it in a triangle. And you remember the one that you want to find is the one that you cover up. So, for example, if I want speed, I cover up speed. And how do I find speed? So, find the average speed of a car that travels 80 kilometres in 2 hours. So if we look at our formula, cover speed, speed equals distance over t. So speed equals distance over time. Now, if you look at the question that we've been given, which one's the distance?
Kilometres.
80 kilometres
Divided by 2
hours. So girls, what do we do now?
80 divided
By 2 is 40. And the units will be kilometres divided by hours, which is kilometres per hour. So you divide the numbers and you've got kilometres over hours. Girls, you know you can write your fraction bar sideways. That's a S for speed. So I'll write here speed equals distance over time. Okay, in question B, we want to work out the distance travelled. So we want to work out D. Distance travelled is D. If a car travels for 3.5 hours, what's 3.5 hours? Time or speed? Time. And at an average speed of 80 kilometres per hour. So we want distance. So we cover distance. How do we work out distance?
Distance equals speed times time.
Yeah, when they're next to each other, it's time. So the distance equals speed times time. So what's our speed?
80 times 3.5.
So just check the units. 80 kilometres per hour times 3.5 hours.
Equals 280 kilometres.
Yeah, so you'll multiply your 80 and your 3.5 and you get 280 and kilometres. Because the only distance there that you can see is kilometres. So you're travelling. So girls, you can do these questions using the formula, but you can do them using common sense if you want as well. So, yeah, if a car travels, so this is just using a problem-solving approach. If a car travels 80 kilometres per hour, it travels 80 kilometres in 1 hour. If you want to find out how far it travels in 3.5 hours, you times it by 3.5. See, it travels 80 kilometres in 1 hour. In 2 hours, it would travel 80 times 2, which would be 60 kilometres. Does that? In 3 hours, it would travel 80 times 3, 240 kilometres. In 3.5 hours, 80 times 3.5 would be 280 kilometres in 3.5 hours. So I could have also done question A using just a problem-solving approach. I can do that down here. It says find the average speed of a car that travels 80 kilometres in 2 hours. Girls, do you remember what I've said about speed? All the road signs that say 60, that's 60 what? Kilometres per how many hours? If you see 60 on the road, on a speed limit, yes, 60 kilometres per hour. Or in the school zones, what's the speed limit in the school zones? 40 kilometres per hour. So girls, I've got this speed is 80 kilometres in 2 hours. When I talk about speed, no one goes around saying 80 kilometres in 2 hours. You need to tell me the speed in 1 hour. The distance travelled in 1 hour. I want to know the speed in kilometres per hour. So if you do 80 kilometres in 2 hours, how far do you think you've travelled in 1 hour?
40.
Yeah, you divide it by 2. You divide it by 2. That's 40 kilometres in 1 hour, which is the same answer as we got here. So girls, you won't always be given this DST triangle. The best thing to do with these types of questions is to write down what you've got. I've got 80 kilometres in 2 hours, so that's 40 kilometres in 1 hour. And the way we did this distance one. Now the last one is find the time taken in hours and minutes to travel 135 kilometres if my average speed is 60 kilometres an hour. So I need time. Let's use the formula for this one. I'm going to cover time. How do we find time?
You have to cover time
divided by
do distance divided by speed.
Good. So in this question, time is distance divided by the speed. What distance do we have? Which one's the distance?
135.
Yeah, that's definitely the distance, 135 kilometres. And what's the speed? 60 kilometres per hour. So your answer is going to be in hours. Did anyone work out 135 divided by 60? Could someone work?
2.25.
Yeah, 2.25 hours. Now, girls, you know 0.25. Do you know what fraction that is? 0.25.
2 quarters.
Nearly.
Oh, two.
So that's 2 hours. Girls, what would 2.5 hours be? 2.5. What's 0.5 as a decimal? What's 0.5? A half, a quarter, or 3/4?
3/4.
A half. 0.5
Oh, yeah.
is a half. 0.25 is a quarter.
I said that.
Good girl. So 2 hours and 2 1/4 hours. So we've got 2 1/4 hours. Girls, how much is a quarter of an hour in minutes? 1/4 of an hour. What's half an hour? Yeah, good. 2 hours, 15 minutes. So girls, this is not 2 hours, 25 minutes. It's 2.25 hours, which is 2 1/4 hours. And we know a quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. Girls, count up to $1 in 25-cent lots. 25, 50, 75, 100. 25, actually, I'll draw a circle. What percent is half the circle? What percent is half the circle?
50.
Good. What about a quarter? If half the circle's 50, what's half of 50?
25.
Girls, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. A quarter is 25%. A half is 50. 3/4, you know how to shade 3/4. That's 75%. Okay, now 75% is 0.75. Okay. All right, we'll go to the next question. Question 11. The distance time graph shows Monica's cycling trip. Now, I know that you were really good with this last time we did it. Let's start. Which line segment, girls? P, Q, R, S, or T refers to each of the following. Girls, where did Monica ride 65 kilometres without stopping?
T.
Yeah.
Two left.
T, section T. Look, the problem with P and R is that there's a stop at Q. So T is where the Monica rode 65 kilometres without stopping. Where did Monica stop for 1 hour?
S.
Yeah, that's 1 hour. Do you want to tell me how long?
Because it's a straight line.
Yes, good.
That means she stopped.
Tell me about...
And then she went back.
So Monica leaves from home. How far does she travel?
T.
No, just... I'm not...
65 kilometers.
No, she travels 40 kilometres. She stops for how long? 30 minutes, great. She travels from 40 to 65, which is another how many kilometres?
65.
No, she's travelled 40. She stops for half an hour. She travels how much further from there to there? 25. From 40 to 65. Then she stops for how long? And then she drives all the way back home. How far from here back home? 60.
40 to 65.
Was she out all the way until 9 to 4 p.m.?
Yep, she was away for... Yep, she was away for 7 hours. All right, this is 65. So when did she ride 65 kilometres without stopping was T. Where did she stop for 1 hour? At S. Where did she travel from 40 kilometres to 65 kilometres away from home? That's 40, that's 65, that's section R. The next question. What time did Monica turn around to cycle back home?
1:30.
Well, it's this time, whatever that is.
Wasn't it 2 o'clock?
No, it's 1:30. If you look here, what time that is, that's
But
1:30.
it's between 1 and the 2, so
It's between the 1 and the 2. What's the total distance travelled?
130 kilometers.
Yeah, it's 65 plus 65.
Let's put that down. 61.
At what times, now this one is a tricky one. At what times was Monica 25 kilometres away from home? We need to look.
10 to 3 p.m.
Fantastic, girls, but you don't put 2, you just say those times. Now I'm putting a line here for 25 kilometres. That's the 25 kilometre mark. We look down at the time, and we look down at the time. And what time do we have here?
10:15.
Girls, it's not 10:30, it's between 10 and 10:30, so it's 10:15, and the other time is here exactly at 3 p.m. So we've got 10:15 a.m. and 3 p.m. Now the last question, is Monica travelling faster in segment P or R? Explain your answer. Girls, which one's steeper?
Because speed equals distance over time,
Yep.
so speed will equal.
So girls, you could answer this 2 ways for me.
Oh, you can do 40 divided by 2, which will give you 20 kilometers per
Per hour.
hour.
Beautiful.
And then you'll get
Good.
R equals distance over time.
Good girls. Okay.
This is your answer.
Okay. Okay.
You wrote segment R. R is steeper.
Yep, let's have a look. Girls, look at P. If you're writing that or R, which one's steeper?
R.
R is slightly steeper. So we're traveling faster in segment R. Why? Because it's steeper. Now, let's say you can't tell if it's steeper or not. If you can't tell if it's steeper or not, the other thing you can do is work out the speed in segment P. So the speed in P. Now, speed is distance over time. Speed is distance over time. So I'm looking at section P, the speed. This is good practice.
25.
So no, in section P we're travelling 40 kilometres and it's taking 2 hours to do it. So here we're travelling 40 kilometres and we started at 9 and finished at 11. That took 2 hours. So section P, the speed is 40 kilometres over 2 hours, which is 20 kilometres per hour. Now I'm going to do the speed in section R. Again, I need the distance over the time. Can someone tell me the distance travelled in section R?
Oh, 25 and 1 hour.
Speed is distance over time. In section R, we're travelling from 40 to 65, which is 25 kilometres. And you're doing that from 11:30 till 12:30, so that's taking an hour. So in section R, you're travelling 25 kilometres in 1 hour, and that speed is 25 kilometres per hour. And I know that you all know that 25 kilometres an hour is faster than 20 kilometres an hour. Okay, so girls, you should know how to use a distance time graph to work out speed. You can see the distance travelled over the certain amount of time. 2 more questions to go. The first one is, now this, a lot of people find this hard to do, but we've guided you here. If you're getting $15 an hour, and some of you will get paid that in the next couple of years, wherever you might work, into how many cents you're earning every minute. So if you get $15 every hour, how many cents are you getting per minute? Look what's happening here. The $15 is the money bit. The $15 is now in cents. And the hour is now in minutes, the time. Look at the money. It was in dollars. We have to convert it to cents. And the hours has to be converted to minutes. So what we do, we convert the $15 is how many cents. Now, $1 is how many cents?
100.
So what's $15?
1,500.
Yeah, so it's 15 times 100, which is 1,500 cents. Now, girls, this is going to be scaffolded for you like this. $15 is 1,500 cents. Girls, 1 hour is how many minutes? 1 hour is 60 minutes. So instead of saying $15 per hour, That's the same as saying, now $15 is 1,500 cents. That's the same as saying 1,500 cents per 60 minutes with an S. So girls, if you earn $15 an hour, you're earning 1,500 cents in 60 minutes. Now, how do you simplify the rate? Divide.
So
Per means divide. So now go 1,500 divide by 60. That's for 60 minutes. If you want for 1 minute, you divide by 60.
25.
So 1,500 divided by 60. Girls, you get 25 cents every minute. Tell me how long it takes you to earn a dollar. 25, 50, 75, 100. No. 25 cents a minute. 25, that's 1 minute. 50 cents for 2 minutes. 25 times 4. Every 4 minutes, you earn a dollar. 25 cents for 1 minute, look.
So how much money would you earn, just say, if you worked in
50 cents for 2 minutes, does that make sense? 75 cents for 3 minutes. You're getting 100 cents, which is a dollar for 4 minutes. So you're getting a dollar for 4 minutes work if you paid $15 an hour.
Is that worth
interesting.
Is it worth it?
So girls,
Did
so
you make your daughter work?
let's say someone earns $65 in 5 hours. Girls, here I've got to work out how many dollars they get in 1 hour. How am I going to work that out? If you know what you're getting in 5 hours, yeah, you divide by 5. If you get $65 in 5 hours, how much do we get in 1 hour? You divide by 5.
Someone's easy, they're both in the 5.
5 divided by 5 is 1. So how do we get from 5 hours to 1 hour? We divide it by 5. So 65 divided by 5, you need your calculator.
It equals 13.
$13 in 1 hour. So if you're paid $13 in 1 hour, how much do you get for 3 hours? What are you going to do?
Divided by 5.
No. How do you go from 1 hour to 3 hours?
It's times 3.
Times 3? Times 3. And it's $39 in 3 hours. Okay?
Someone's easy because they're in the 5s.
But the thing that we look at is how do we get from 5 hours to 1 hour? We divide by 5. So you must, the main thing with ratios, whatever you do to one, you do to the other one. How do we get from 5 hours to 1 hour? Divide by 5, divide by 5. If you know you're getting $13 for 1 hour, for 3 hours you'd have to times it by 3. 1 times 3, 13 times 3.